Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to Rats on Film, the show where a bunch of film rats talk about and rank movies. We are back 1 year later to cover some more movie musicals in honor of Wicked Part 2, Wicked for Good, coming out. On the show today, I have Jordan.
Hello.
Tim.
Can't see it, but I'm doing jazz hands.
Dylan.
Hi.
And I'm your host, Xander. Welcome to the show, everybody. So last year, this time of the year, when Wicked Part 1 came out, we had a collection of musical adaptations that we ranked as a little rat community. Now we've collected some more musical adaptations, plus the sequel, Wicked for Good, and we're going to add those to the existing list. I've acquired rats today that were not on the first episode. You guys have to live with the list that was made by the previous rats, which I will recap now, and you guys can have your little say about how you feel about this list. So our ranking was number 1, Hairspray, number 2, Little Shop of Horrors, number 3, Tick Tick Boom, number 4, Wicked, number 5, Les Miserables, and number 6, Cabaret.
Wicked is too low, but it's fine.
I also feel like Les Mis is too low for me.
But I love Les Mis and I love Hairspray.
Yeah, Hairspray's fine.
I like all those movies. Probably not the order I put them in. Cabaret, probably too low. I just feel like really chaotic list. And it's about to get even more chaotic. Probably low-key like the most chaotic rats list, because really there's not that much that they have in common.
Other than being stage musicals that have been turned into movies.
Total chaos.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was on the episode. I didn't re-listen. I think some of it's okay on this list.
Was that your personal ranking?
No, definitely. Les Mis is too low. I love Les Mis. My mom's a huge Les Mis person, so I grew up with it, and it should be higher. I'm fine with Hairspray being number 1, but I would probably put Les Mis number 2. But anyway, it's fine. We've got a new group of movies to add to this list. Those slots are locked. We can add the new movies today anywhere amongst those. So yeah, Tim's definitely right, though. It's going to be a weird
list.
So it's a 10.
I think it's 11 because we did 6 last year.
So we're adding 5 to the 6.
Yeah,
okay.
but 6 is kind of too many for an episode. 5 is kind of the sweet spot we've learned as we've gone on. So we just did 5 for this. So let's get into it. First up on the list, West Side Story, 1961. Super basic plot recap. For anyone who doesn't know West Side Story, it's a modern, I guess 60s modern, Romeo and Juliet set in New York. 2 groups of gangs, the Sharks and the Jets, having a little turf war with each other, and a member of one of the gangs falls in love with the sister of the rival gang's leader.
This is a classic for me. This comes from one of my favorite eras of filmmaking. I love just the confidence, so much clear and coherent thought put into every setup, every cut. Yeah, I just feel like there's a real choreography to not just the characters and their movements, but also the movement of the cameras and the movement of just the film as a whole, the pacing. And it's, so vibrant and colorful. I love it.
It's a beautiful movie. I do really love how it's shot and edited. That's 100% my big takeaway from it, watching it again. Definitely something I watched young, because again, classic. And yeah, I was really struck by how amazing it looks just visually.
I love the opening sequence where it's just lines and you're like, what is this? And then it's New York City. You're like, what is that? That's so fun. It's so fun. It's different. It's weird, but I love it. And it looks amazing.
Yeah, I feel like this movie also keeps the spirit of a stage show alive in the film. Tim was mentioning the choreography, which is very intentional. Like the camera is in a certain spot to get all the choreography, which I really appreciate compared to a lot of modern musical adaptations where dancing is shot in a wide and you can see the performers perform and they're performing with each other and you can see the costumes moving on their bodies, which that's something that you get when you watch a stage show, because you're staring at a stage, obviously. And I think this movie is really creative and I like the way that it approaches, shooting. The dancing specifically stands out to me in this one. I am not a huge fan of the story of this show. I'm just not really a Romeo and Juliet person, and also just the love at first sight story arc being the main plot for me is just not really enough for this to be a favorite of mine for all time. And I don't love the music. I know that this is I
love the music.
Yeah, I know that it's a lot of people's favorites, but it's a little too offbeat for me, which I understand is why people love and appreciate this one for being different and unique. But It's not one of my favorites for those reasons, but the dancing and the way that it's shot and the costumes and the colors, it's just so beautiful. And I don't think you can take that away from it.
Going off what you're saying about the dancing, what I think is really cool about this one specifically is we talked about it a little bit on the first episode, and, you know, shooting dancing in the wide. Sometimes movie musicals get in the weeds on getting really cutty because they can, and you detract from it. What I think is cool about this one is it does shoot in wides, but it also actually cuts a lot. And it doesn't get caught up only cutting on the beat every time there's a downbeat. It's really intentional, and the editing in the movie is incredible. There's so many really creative cuts that keep the kineticism going of the dancing as part of the film language of the movie that I don't think is in any of these other movie musicals, which I think is really impressive and cool about this one. I am with you. I don't care about any of this music. You know what's weird? What? I don't like Sondheim. There's another Sondheim on this. I'm not going to like it either. Sorry to him. R.I.P. Not a fan of his music.
America is so good.
That's my favorite song. Here's what I'll say is interesting going off of what you said about the overture. The overture rules. I love the orchestra, the arrangements, the instrumentation. I like all that. I hate as soon as someone starts singing. I don't like it.
Well, I was going to say, I like the songs in this. They're not like all-time favorites, but the music is incredible.
I love the music.
And it's Leonard Bernstein. I mean, obviously Sondheim's doing the lyrics, but the Leonard Bernstein score is...
It's so good. It's so good.
Absurdly good. And obviously it's a musical. There is a lot of singing, but a lot of the movie is driven just by the score. And I think those moments are really strong, especially like Dylan mentioned, the opening sequence, the opening dancing. I mean, that's to me probably the best scene of the movie. It's almost like 17 minutes until you get to like dialogue. I tried to time it. The synchronized choreography of them moving around. It's kind of like the ritual of these kids moving around as a pack in a gang, you know. Doesn't really matter why. That's just what they do. It's the old song and dance.
It's great visual storytelling, though, isn't it? Right?
Absolutely.
Because, like you said, there's no dialogue, and you really immediately get, okay, here's a group. The movie is white versus Puerto Rican gang, right? Yeah. There's a visual element to that, and his brown face is not great, but we move past what the story is. But there's a visual representation of what's happening. You know, you see them front on each other. You see them on one side of the street. You see the other gang on the other side of the street. If you cross, they're fronting on you. Oh, now we're outnumbering you. Now you have to run. Now we have to run. It's a really great escalation. And you just go, okay, cool. There's these two gangs. They're both trying to occupy the same space, and they're at odds with each other.
Yeah. Something I also like about this movie, but I think it's more of like the times we live in versus like when those movies were made. But I like when men like do ballet when you're watching a musical, like it's fine. But I feel like dance moves and choreography as we've gotten more modern has been so like the men need to act manly, and I'm like, it's fine if they just do ballet, like it's a musical, like and like when you watch the opening sequence, you're like, they're doing plies and shit, and you're like, it looks good, like it's a musical, like they should.
Very talented dancers.
And now it's like they do like in sync moves.
I think especially the men dancing, the men fighting, but also dancing. I just love the way that like the fights are choreographed, even when they're like punching each other, but obviously not really punching each other. And it is like this back and forth dance. And like there's one point when like a guy like leaps onto another guy and he looks like he's diving. And like nowadays, even in a lot of movie musicals, the fight choreography is shot like stage combat. It's not shot like a dance.
It would just be
like,
a fight.
Exactly.
Like it's like a martial arts fight.
So I like that element is like alive and well in this, where like everything is like a dance and creative. And I think it really helps you get into this universe. Like the setting is set and you're in. Like it's not super consistent with our world, but you're in and you kind of understand like the hierarchy and the way things work here, and it's different, and you're just like locked in for the rest of the movie.
It's the large scale, wide scope storytelling, on all levels, the visuals of the dancers and the story too. I hear you on the Romeo and Juliet stuff. Plenty of people have complained about that story for centuries.
It's not an original take.
I like Shakespeare. I like Romeo and Juliet. I like that kind of archetypal story of love at first sight. But it's not so much about, wow, this is the all-time greatest couple. It's more about like the tragedy of the potential. Even if when you were a teenager you weren't running off with a rival gang guy or, you know, whatever. Teenagers, you know, they do rash decisions. And when parents try to tell them not to do it, it just makes them more likely to do it. And, you know, this speaks to that sort of base level, like just tried and true classic element of being a teenager.
You're saying when we were teenagers.
Yeah. And beyond just like what parents are telling you, I think obviously the message of this movie is like against prejudice. So I think obviously that shines true. And I think, you know, love being the thing that trumps hate, and these people hate each other and they don't even understand why. And these two people fall in love despite, to Tim's point, everything that they've been growing up around. I think that's obviously the beautiful heart of this story, and that's why it's successful.
Yeah, I think that all of that is true. I just think that the stuff that's maybe more interesting to me in the film is the, like, America, right? That scene of having this dialogue of these people who have come to America and it's not what they thought it was, and dealing with the prejudices, and is it worth it? Is it not? Like, should we go back? And those conversations are a lot more interesting to me than just like, I love Maria and she goes, I love Tony. And I go, fucking why though?
Yeah, I'm okay with her loving him. I'm not okay with her just instantly forgiving him for killing his brother.
That's the part that makes me like, I was like, to me, that would be a perfect movie if there was like a 10-minute something
like
in between finding out
Bernardo,
her brother died and that Tony killed. Like, if she was just like, let's have a conversation, like what happened? Because I feel like if you're in love with someone, you're like, oh, I can forgive you a little bit if circumstances provided that, but they don't really go into that. Yeah, it feels so like 180 where she's just like, oh, my brother died, let's run away together. And you're like, you're like, oh girl, come on. Okay, let's assess for a second.
I would rather the story elements had explored more of the love triumphing hate in terms of overcoming prejudice rather than just this blind love. And that's what the movie ends up focusing on. And that's why I think it ends up being weaker from a story perspective for me.
Shout out to the fact that they kind of had like a lesbian character in a movie that was like that old, where I was like, she wants to be a boy,
maybe
or
trans,
non-binary,
and non-binary trans, like just something where I was like, oh, because I haven't seen this
gender.
In a while, and I was like, oh, that's kind of like interesting for a movie that's that old.
Well, I mean, we mentioned it briefly too, but the brown face, I mean, obviously it needs to be acknowledged. You know, it's not great to say the least, but you know, movies exist as a piece of history, and this was more than 60 years ago. And honestly, at the time, this would have been seen as a very progressive film, a very progressive story to be telling, to focus so much on Hispanic characters and give them equal weight and intelligence and, you know, emotional depth as the white characters, and to acknowledge the prejudice that they face. So, you know, both things can be true.
Where do you guys want to rank West Side Story?
Yeah, I mean, for me, obviously, it's straight to the top. So I'll let you guys work out from there.
To me, it's below Les Mis, so above Cabaret.
Okay, I would put it above Les Mis, but below it.
I'm with Jordan because I don't want to put it above Les Mis. I wouldn't put it below all the movies that are above it, but I would put it below Les Mis just because I like Les Mis more. So I'll put it there. So you're putting it below Wicked, Dylan, and Tim's putting it at the top. This is fucking so.
So that puts it at what, like third, maybe?
Yeah, I think maybe it'll go fourth. Maybe it'll go above Wicked, below Tick Tick Boom. Does that seem like reasonable to everybody as like a weighting?
Yeah.
Why is Wicked so low?
Next up on the list, Chicago, 2002. Quick little summary. 2 women, 1 starlet, 1 wannabe starlet, find themselves in jail together after murdering men for cheating on them.
They ate that. To me, if Wicked or Wicked Part 2 weren't on the list, this would be like number 1. I think it's like a perfect movie all around. Like, I love all the creative decisions. I think everybody was like cast so well. I love the like structure of telling the plot but moving to a visual musical. Yeah,
it's really interesting, right? It's very unique. It's like
just like so good,
but to like another level. It's set in like a regular world, but then as you're progressing the plot or you're retelling details, you're going into this stage show performance version of things. It's really fun.
But that's how I think like obviously like something like Wicked is different, but I think of something like Cats where I'm like, that's probably what you should do for something that's too fantastical as a musical. Like take it into like some kind of real world where like you see the music, but it moves a plot along, but then you like come back to the movie. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's like it does a great job of like moving the plot along, but like they're not gonna like pretend she's like a puppetry doll in the real world, but like let's move to a different area where she is that and then come back to it. And it works so well to me.
Yeah, I think it's a really creative storytelling device. I think it works really well. You understand what they're saying. Like when you see the lawyer puppeting her, you're like, oh, I totally get what it's like. A great metaphor, and it's great visually and it's fun. I love that.
This one's it's really close to the stage show. Like they really didn't change much at all. I agree with what you guys are saying about, you know, it's an interesting choice it kind of blurs the line between a film version of the story, non-musical, and just sort of a filmed version of just the stage show. And it kind of like cuts back and forth between them, which works really well, I think. You know, they're playing around a lot with, even within that framework that they've set up of real world, stage world, the stage world is not confined by what a real stage would be. You know, it's playing cinematically with different things.
It's interesting too, because I've not seen a stage play. Makes sense that it's pretty faithful, but from a character perspective, it works really well of this wannabe star and this actual star, that's the way you're seeing the world from their perspective. And that's how they see the world. Everything she sees through the lens of, if I was on the stage experiencing this. And I kind of love that for the character, and the film itself and the film language being an extension of the character's experience and the character's point of view.
And obviously the whole theme of the movie is performance, and, you know, the line between what actually happened and what they're saying happened,
and what people want to see.
What people want to see.
Yeah, I hadn't seen this movie or the stage show ever. I obviously knew a bunch of the songs just being a theater kid growing up, but this was I just watched it for this podcast and I was like pretty blown away by it. I really liked it, and obviously it was worth the hype that everyone has ever said about it. But it also struck me, we had just recently seen Kiss of the Spider-Woman in theaters this year, and like it's very similar to me, where you're playing with the theater, and in that movie it's like filmmaking, and that just really struck me. And I think both movies are successful at it, but I think this one is really strong because like the media matches, like she just wants to be a showgirl, and I think that obviously that's like the point. And also I just love that it is like a broader conversation of like the city of Chicago, which I think it's so funny.
Well, yeah, I mean, one of my favorite parts about it too is the music and it being set on that backdrop of 1920s Chicago, the jazz age. I love jazz music. We talked about it on the first podcast. That's one of the reasons Hairspray is really high for me. I love the music in it. And I think this is, again, a similar. I love this genre of stage music. Cell Block Tango.
No, but there's like, but like this album is like back to back bangers.
It's got really, really, really solid music, and a different sort of music than what you see in a standard Broadway play. It's not the regular.
Yeah. Well, it's like more vaudeville, which of course is like what, you know, that's part of the story. But yeah, it's snappy, you know, which fits for the story.
I mean, I also just love it because it's so cunty. Like, everything about it is just like
someone had to say.
It was like women are just like doing crimes, but everybody is like, we support them. Like it's good. Like it's like hard to like make a movie where like the women are all kind of terrible, but it's like we support them. But this one is like you support them all the way. You're like, yeah, kill your husband. I don't care. He's horrible.
I mean, so Black Tango is like one of the best.
It's like a but it's like such a good, like it feels like such a like we love when women are a little unhinged and wild and crazy, and we love it.
But one thing that I actually really appreciate about this movie is I totally agree with you, and I think there are some really slay moments, and I'm here for it. But I also love that there is like a bit of a political backdrop. Like the one character who actually did not kill someone does get hanged, and that's like an important moment in the movie, and like that speaks volumes about how women are treated, and like women are treated to perform and to be slay, and they can't actually just be themselves and be people in the world. Like they have to perform to be a woman. I think that's amazing.
The only way to get off is to be what people want you to be.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that it is saying that, like the movie is saying that, which I think is an important backdrop to all the slay and the fun.
I also like to, not a lot of male characters in the movie, but the primary male character, Billy Flynn, the lawyer, he's also unhinged. He's also fully in on this. Let's manipulate the system to win by any means
well, he's
necessary.
obsessed with being a star, just like that.
Exactly, right. It's that whole thing of you're no different, you're no better. Why are we holding people to different standards if everybody is actually the same underneath it? There's just this facade and this prejudice and this different standard that we're holding people to, but there's actually this baseline of Roxy and Billy are basically the same person. One of them just committed a crime and one of them committed crimes, but not a murder.
I also feel like for this movie, Richard Gere to me, like growing up, like was like a heartthrob. Like he did the love novels, those kind of romantic comedy movies. And then when I saw him in this, I was like, oh, he's an actor. Like he's good. Like he's really good.
I mean, I think you also have to talk about Renee Zellweger and Catherine Zeta-Jones.
They're amazing.
The
queens.
Range, but like the range that both of them are showing also just in this movie alone, I think is really impressive. And then an actor that I don't even particularly like, but I think was amazing is John C. Reilly in this movie. And I think the Mr. Cellophane character, like the Mr. Cellophane song is another good moment where like he is one of the people who isn't trying to perform and isn't trying to win, and the world treats him badly also. And I think that's another like message in the movie that is underlooked, I think. Yeah, it's an ensemble movie with like character actors who are bringing their A game, which I think is something that is almost required in a musical. And I think this movie really succeeds on that front.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. It's a great satire, really. I mean, it's really funny.
Yeah, it is really funny.
We're not even really talking about that, but it's really funny. But it's so intelligent in the way that it is funny. You know, it's you know what Jordan was talking about. Like it's not just cunt slay. Roxy is terrible. The movie trusts you to understand what it's doing with her. It's having a good time with it. And, you know, this movie says, you know, the bad guys are kind of the most fun people to watch, right? You know, and that's obviously what it's all about.
I was going to say, that's exactly what it's saying is people love to watch that type of thing. And that's what gets the eyes. That's what gets the attention. And what does that say about you?
Yeah, exactly.
By the end, when you're watching their huge 2-woman show and you're like, oh man, they got away with it and now they're more famous than ever. Like this.
But it also feels so timeless because you're like, honestly, like I would probably buy a ticket to Roxy and Velma's show. Like I support them. Like I would watch that show.
All right. Where do you guys want to rank Chicago?
See, this is where it's tough for me because I like West Side Story more, but
to me, it's a number one.
I would put Chicago above pretty much everything else. So I almost wonder if I should also put it at the top.
Yeah, it's up to you how you want to do it. You're saying number one, Dylan?
Yeah.
Jordan?
I'd put it below Hairspray, but above everything else.
I think I agree with that. I think
so there might be a phone rat situation.
You're putting it above Hairspray?
Yeah, I think so.
You know what? I'll put it above Hairspray.
I think you have executive decision.
It's a really good movie.
Yeah, I'll put it above Hairspray. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I'd be really happy with this being at the top of the list. Yeah.
I feel like for this one, I like this one more than all the ones above Les Mis, but I don't like West Side Story more than all the ones above Les Mis to defend my decision making of why Les Mis gatekeeped West Side Story, right?
Yeah, I get that.
Next up on the list, Sweeney Todd, 2007. The Demon Barber of Fleet Street. Sweeney Todd, also known as Benjamin Barker, has been wrongfully sent away to prison because of a corrupt judge who wanted to steal his wife. He comes back seeking revenge.
This is my first R-rated movie ever. It's the first R-rated movie I ever watched.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's honestly kind of a crazy one because it's pretty violent.
But it's like fun violent.
You love that fake blood.
Yeah, I think that the blood is like orange, which I love. It's very
it's also like voluminous. Like there's too much blood. Like you're like that doesn't happen in real life.
Yeah.
How do you know?
Yeah. Wait a second.
Oh yeah, you left out an important detail about the plot. I mean, spoilers if you they kill people and they bake them into pies.
Yeah, that's true.
The soiling green vibes.
The worst pies in London.
Yeah. This is one of my favorite movies ever, probably, and also just one of my favorite musicals ever. So I think I will be pretty biased on this one. It's also like I'm a huge Tim Burton fan and I love a lot of the actors in this movie. So I just adore this movie.
I saw a production of this once a long time ago, and I don't remember it very well. But of course, I do remember the Ballad of Sweeney Todd that opens the show, which is not in this.
No.
And I think that's a very interesting choice to make. I think the way that Burton has taken on the show, it really changes the character of it because in the stage show, it's the legend. It's this almost mythical story. In the movie, it's really just a couple of characters, mostly in like these small settings, these closed doors. And that gives it a really eerie quality to it. Like it's almost like forbidden knowledge.
Yeah, this one feels very Shakespearean to me.
Yeah.
You know, going back to like West Side Story. It's another Sondheim, so maybe that's something.
Yeah,
but,
true.
It feels very Shakespearean, the tragedy of it all, right? The blinded by revenge, the lengths that you go, and ultimately you're your own worst enemy at the end of the day. Like there was this guy that you put all your hatred towards, and then you became the worst possible
it's
thing.
Kind of like a Count of Monte Cristo.
Yeah, sure.
Story.
Yeah, I think the devolution of the character works pretty well. It's interesting. It's mostly done through montage. There's like a turning point moment with Pirelli, and then all of the Jack the Ripper moment, that serial killer thing is all done through a montage, through a song. I mean, I think you do really buy it the way that it's shot. I think the editing works really well in this to show that full descent into madness and consumption with revenge.
I feel like this movie, going off of your point, is like kind of the full movie version of No Good Deed from Wicked.
Interesting.
Oh yeah, interesting. Like,
but he doesn't do a good
full
deed,
bad guy mode.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't want to be bad. The world made him bad.
This is what you made me.
Exactly.
Sure.
And it's the judge's fault, right? He's taking it out on the judge. The judge is the wizard. Obviously, things are worse, but I mean, it depends on the way you look at it. But the whole movie is like his Wicked, Sweeney Todd's Wicked. The untold story of the demon barber of Fleet Street.
I think to me, my favorite thing about this movie, and it's just because I'm like such a visual person, but it's like so like visually stunning and iconic to me. Like I love that it's like in color, but it's a little bit muted, but the blood is muted. But the blood is so red.
This is the thing. That's just what London looks like.
No, but I think that's a good point. It's like I love like, I mean, we've been to London and London doesn't look like that, but I love this idea of like, I don't know. I love that it's like all like the snow covered rooftops, and it's like everything is a little asymmetrical, and that's just like his visual style, but in a movie. But I also just love like the costumes and the character design, and all that stuff is just like so entrancing to me. Like I love the by the sea section. Like that's probably my favorite section in the whole movie, where it's just like, even they're at the beach and it's beautiful, but it's like gray and horrible. Like I think it's so like, it's such a visually toneful, beautiful movie.
I completely agree. When I was watching it, there was a bit of a chill in the air where it's autumn here. But watching the movie just made me feel like it was so much colder than it actually is. You can really feel the chill in every scene. And yeah, it's a bit of that muted palette. And a lot of movies do a desaturated look, and it looks terrible. Movies that do it right, they do it from the ground up. You know, it's the production design, it's the costumes, the makeup, you know, they look pasty. It's very well thought out rather than just, it's thought out rather than just, you know, a slider, a saturation slider. And, you know, there is real contrast in the image.
Yeah. And like certain colors pop, like the Pirelli blue pops, the blood red pops. Joanna's room is a different color than outside.
Her hair pops.
Yeah, her hair pops.
If you're going to make such a stark choice, right? Such a in your face choice. It's not subtle. It's very in your face. I think you do it with intention. And I think that is done here, where it's not a visual style that I love particularly to look at from the aesthetic viewpoint of it, but from a story perspective and from what it's adding to the show and to the film itself, I think it does work really, really well.
And it is like, you know, like Dylan said, like it's London. It feels real. It feels lived in, but there's something a little off about it. It's clearly,
is it Gotham City?
Yeah, it's clearly, you know, Tim Burton's conception of London, and it's not as, you know, crazy as some of his stuff, but it clearly is. You're existing when you watch it in a specific world that he's created. Now, I will say, you know, somewhat on the negative side, the sets look incredible. The locations, everything looks incredible. It's unfortunate when they do the CGI shots, because they feel so out of place, because everything else feels so handmade.
100% agree about that.
Yeah, I feel like this is the sweet spot for me with Tim Burton, where I'm okay with the use of CGI because it's not,
there's not that
enough
much.
of it.
There's
Yeah, and I totally agree with you. It's noticeable, and it does take you out of it. But I think this is like in his body of work, this is like the era where it shifts, if that makes sense. And I think of some of his movies in the next couple of years after this movie relied too heavily on it. And I think he is just a filmmaker who is so talented at like bringing people together who have skill and craft. And I think that's where the strengths of a lot of his earlier movies come from.
It's almost a filmmaker that was made to make this story, right? Like a lot of his earlier work, if you look at it and you think about the visual style and the sets and the production design and the costumes and stuff like that, I think it does lend itself really well to an adaptation of this source material.
Yeah, it's gothic.
Yeah.
It's a bit horror, but it's also funny. Like the show is, kind of a comedy in many ways. So yeah, that definitely is in Tim Burton's wheelhouse.
What is it with Sondheim and women with 3-syllable names?
I had the exact same thought.
Did you really?
This is the exact same song.
Watching them back to back, dude.
Maria.
Yeah, it's crazy. It was crazy to me. I was like, dude, come on. This is lazy.
Okay, I'm counting them in my head.
I think the music in this musical is really strong, though. I think a lot of the recurring motifs in the music are really powerful.
It's interesting. I like this music better, but the songs, I still don't love it, but I like the songs better, but I don't like the score as much. I don't like the music as much. The vocals and the performances. I'm not a Johnny Depp fan. We've talked about this on the podcast before. I am pleasantly surprised by his vocal performance in this movie. I think actually him and Helena Bonham Carter, both people I don't associate with being vocalists, I think are both very solid.
I like the music in this. Maybe not as much as some of the other ones. They're not as bopping to me.
Totally.
I was trying to put my finger on why. I think maybe it's just the Cockney accents.
I think that's why I love it.
They're so extreme. It's like I'm enjoying it while I'm watching the movie, but it's maybe a bit much. I mean, the silliest complaint.
I think the thing
I feel you.
I think the thing I noticed during this movie that it's not like its fault, but like it started to me in my head, like the trend where we started switching from people who can actually sing to like movie stars, because I was like, you can tell it's like movie stars who were taught how to sing as opposed to like people who know how to sing who are becoming movie stars. And I also think just something I don't like personally is like when this is just like a stage specific thing or just like a play specific thing. I don't like when people like sing the plot or like what's happening in the scene where it's like, we're going to the bakery right now. Like, I'm like, I don't like that. Like, I'm just like, let's all walk there and then start singing the song that takes place there. But I really don't like the like everything being explained so forthright.
I feel like this movie does not do that. I feel like this musical does not really.
It does
do
it
that
a
to me.
little
I think
bit.
It's a bit more subtle,
but it's good. I still love it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to defend this movie with my whole heart because I love it. But I hear you about the singing, specifically from Johnny Depp. I think his singing is the weakest in the movie. I think for like Helena and Sacha Baron Cohen, I think their characters don't require the same vocal skill. And also I think both of them play it more as a character. And like to Tim's point, the accents cover up some.
Also Sondheim is a very like talky sing. Yeah. Like it's like it's not that it's the belty thing, but it's like you start to notice it. Not even with like the movies we're talking about, like further on, where it's like if you try to teach a movie actor how to belt, like it's kind of a flop. Like it's not going to work if you don't have the skills to make it happen.
But I think like Joanna and Antony both can sing in this. I think both of them sound pretty solid. I think
it kind of goes back to what I was saying too about like the stage show is so much bigger. Mm-hmm. But this movie, it's kind of more, it's not quite Les Mis. Like there's definitely dialogue scenes, but it's a lot of singing. So it's almost more just like, but when they talk, they sing. And some people are good singers, some people aren't. And that's just kind of how it is. I like Johnny Depp singing. I don't know if I love him in the part. I think he adds a lot to a lot of movies.
For sure.
There are roles that I love him in. This one, I don't know if it's there for me, but it's a tricky part. I don't think Johnny Depp does a bad job by any means. I think he does a good job, but I think it just he doesn't elevate it.
I think this is actually one of his more subtle roles. And I think he's a very loud character actor in a lot of the things that he does successfully, like the Jack Sparrows, the, Mad Hatter. I think Ed Wood. Yeah. Like even Edward Scissorhands is a bit wonky. And I think he's just really good at doing those like very unique, loud characters. And I think This, he kind of tones it back where he's just like a broken man. And I think he does a good job. And I see the sympathetic character in there. And I see the breaking point and like that where the anger takes over and he's kind of a different character. I mean, obviously it's just, I think I just like him more than maybe you guys do as an actor and like watching his performance. But I think he brings 3 dimensions to this character. And I think you see like the heartbreak that you don't get from the stage show. I don't think after seeing the stage show, because the stage show, like you're further away and it's like a bit more detached. I think you're up close with this man. And I think you see through Johnny's performance, this guy who's like on the edge the entire time. And like, he's like one decision away from breaking and like becoming fully shattered. And I don't know, I think he does a really good job with it through the vocal performance and just through the physicality and his facial expressions. Because it's a bit more Johnny than a lot of his other roles. Like you see more of like a human face than you see in a lot of things. And the only other role that I've seen him in where I think that he does that is in Finding Neverland, where he's just an actual human being.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough.
I mean, I think we should mention how good Alan Rickman is in this movie as a villain.
Yeah,
I mean,
Alan Rickman.
He's one of the best villain actors, I think, in general. But he's just really good at being so like pompous and, you know, having it all together on the being a judge, but also being like the worst possible person.
Such an arrogance to him. Yeah. Just in his posturing, in his the way he speaks, the way he stands in a room. It's great. It's a great performance.
And I think that helps me sympathize with the Sweeney character too, because he's trying to hold it all together because he's holding it all together. But it's like this dance between like who's going to break first, because they both know that they're not actually what they're presenting to be. It's so good.
Where do you want to put Sweeney Todd?
Number one
for me.
I would put it above Little Shop.
This one's tough for me to say, because this is where the weirdness of the list comes in, because I like it about as much as a lot of the last list. I don't like it as much as Les Mis or Cabaret, but I feel bad putting it at the bottom because I do like it more than some of the other ones. So I'll split the difference and I'll say below Les Mis, above Cabaret.
I'm going to put it at the bottom for me personally.
What? Wow.
The bottom.
Les Mis is going to gatekeep it because I don't like this one more than a lot of the ones above it. Maybe a couple of them, but I like Les Mis way more than it, and so that's gonna keep it. And then I also like Cabaret more than it.
Nothing's gonna harm you.
Not way more.
Oh, that song is so good.
So what do we think? Let's come to an agreement. Above or below West Side? I guess exactly in the middle would be above West Side.
I mean, I don't like Tick Tick, but
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna put it above West Side because that's exactly in the middle.
I would
personally agree with that, but okay.
Listen, none of us agree with it.
No, exactly. Yeah, no one's happy. No one's happy there. Yeah. Next up, In the Heights, 2021. Our first Lin musical on this list. He directed Tick Tick Boom. But
our second John M. Chu
yeah. Set in Washington Heights, following a group of Latino Americans living in Washington Heights. The rent is getting higher. It's getting harder to live there. Main character is Usnavi, and he's decided that he's going to leave life behind in Washington Heights and go back to the Dominican Republic. Obviously, there's a lot more to it than that, but just a very basic plot summary.
Something that struck me when I was rewatching this is amongst this group of movies we're talking about, it's like probably the most small scale.
Totally.
Definitely the one with the least amount of killing in a sense that it has none.
Is it the only one that has no murder?
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Is
there murder?
The Heat murders the Abuela.
Oh, I meant the ones we're talking about
today. Okay, yeah.
There's murder. There's murder in Hairspray. They get hit by the bus.
Oh yeah.
New Girl in Town, banger.
So it's the smallest scale, the least violent, but to me, it's arguably the most ambitious in terms of what it's trying to cover, in the sense that what it's really about is kind of just the Latino experience in New York City. But I think what makes it work is, it focuses in on, just a few characters. And I think, the opening of the movie is a great way into that. To me, the defining shot of the movie is right at the end of the song. There's the shot of the entire block dancing, and Usnavi's there, but he's sort of off center. He's just sort of amongst the crowd. So it's just sort of giving this feeling like there's this rich, vibrant community of people, and every single person has a story worth telling. We just happen to be telling Usnavi's story in this movie.
I love that as a metaphor for New York as well, and for America as well, right? Like you can keep zooming out and sort of have that still be a relevant theme for it.
West Side Story walked so In the Heights could run.
Yeah, I mean, and West Side Story was a very similar opening,
without murder.
It's done very differently, but it's the same idea where the movie starts with those aerial shots of New York, and then it just zooms in on just a handful of characters.
Yeah, I think that's something that was really striking watching these movies close to back, on like how culturally the world views New York, and specifically like the Latino experience. What we were talking about with West Side Story, how like the first scene is like really setting up the way of life and like how these people operate in their little gangs. I think this movie does a good job at like setting up, the day-to-day life for these people and like what they do for work, what they do with their family, their friends. And I think this one is just like a really beautiful generational story. I think there are young kids, there are older people, they deal with death. There's like, people are dealing with what they want to do with their careers. And there's just a lot going for it. That, like, to Tim's point, it's very broad and big. But I think, because we're focused on a handful of people and their immediate goals, I think it's also very small and relatable. And I think it's successful because of that.
I think a huge strength of this one is that it was shot in New York.
Yeah.
I think talking about like this opening scene and this sense of community and presence and larger than the individual. Like, yes, we're focusing on the individuals, but there's a whole world out there. I think it being shot on location and in the city, it has that feeling of being sort of this small fish in a big pond, even just from the visuals of dialogue scenes walking down the street and things like that. I think that adds a lot to this sort of feeling that the movie is going for. Something we talk about on the podcast all the time. The specificity sometimes makes stuff more broad. Let's focus on the Latin American experience in specifically Washington Heights in New York City. But that is sort of a lot of that stuff rings true for anybody anywhere in the world.
Yeah, I think my favorite sequence is like shooting at the water park in the 100s, because you're just like, that doesn't really. I was like, when I was watching, I was like, that doesn't really exist anywhere. Like a giant water park in the middle of like a community, but it's like not really a water park. It's like something else. And I was like, that's funny. It feels like it was made in New York, like it's made for New Yorkers and not like the like Soho, Chelsea New Yorkers, like the people that like built New York and made it what it is. Like that's what it feels like.
Oh, it's very lived in. I mean, John Chu, his approach is very different than a West Side Story approach, which is very obviously constructed, and it's beautifully constructed. It's clearly constructed, and this is a lot more casual in the way that it's shot, and obviously it's a lot of real locations. The musical sequences aren't just one big dance number that he shoots from different ways. There's a lot of editing. It's a lot of multiple scenes happening simultaneously or moving from one to the other. It's a lot of montage. It's kind of just the language of any old movie in a way.
I think the one thing that draws the film back for me is I kind of feel like the blackout is such a like fun climactic thing to have, that like there's so much after the blackout where I'm like, oh, okay, like there's a lot more story that I guess we're telling. But I feel like the blackout is it's like such a good sequence that it feels like there's so much after that doesn't like reach the heights of like him running around or like the Abuela's song where she's like singing about her. And then I was like, okay, like it's fine, the movie's going, it's like it's good.
I have not seen this stage show, but I would imagine that that's the act break, and I think that'll be a relevant conversation for Wicked for Good.
Act break issue. I mean, a lot of these movies have that same thing. You know, there's the fight in West Side Story.
Yes. What is it about musicals where it's a trend that the back halves are rushed? They never have as good a song. Like, what is that? Why is that a common thread?
I think because most stories are told in 3 acts and most musicals are told in 2 acts. And I think that they usually put the first 2 in the first half so that the climax before the act break is like actually the climax of the film. And then the second of the show. And then the second half of the show is really just the wrap up. Often. I mean, it's not always the case, obviously.
Because I fully agree with you. That's in my notes as well, that I think it's a little bit drawn out. I think it's a little bit, we lose the momentum where it's off to a rocking start.
Everything up to the blackout is like so fantastic. And then it just like is like momentum died.
It's not that it's bad. It's just, it definitely drops off and it slows down a little bit. And
you can feel it's like the gear shift.
100%. And even like the blackout scene, like you brought up a boiler song. That's one of the most interesting and visually cool and striking parts of that movie. And then you never really get back up to that level again, which is fine.
I think the thing that bothers me the most is the CGI.
There's the one scene on the side of the building.
On the side of the building, yeah.
Yeah.
That or just
it should be so cool, right? It should be so cool.
But it's like, I know she wants to be a fashion designer. Like, I don't need like scrolls of fabric to be following her around New York City. Like, she could just be like walking down Fifth Avenue and like, you're like, let me look at Saks, let me look at Bergdorf's. Like, she doesn't need like all that stuff happening around her. I know it's like modern filmmaking, which is like whatever it is, but I just don't love that.
Yeah, I think the practically shot New York is what brings this movie like alive. And I think that the costumes are good, the performances are good, like the amount of people on screen at once like really helps it feel lively. But I do agree. I think there's just a weird disconnect when you add like computer generated elements into anything.
It's like it's like because like when you watch like something like La La Land where she's just walking down a street in Burbank, you're like, that looks good. Like, I love it. I feel like with this, with like a lot of movies, but it's like you don't need to do that much. You can like scale it back and people will still.
I think it's just a similar conversation to Sweeney Todd, where like because it's not the whole movie, it just takes you out when it is used.
Yeah.
Like it's not happening in every scene. Like it's not like a Baz Luhrmann film. So when it happens, you're just kind of like, oh, okay. But I think the practical stuff in this movie is really well done.
So for sure.
The music too, we have to like talk about.
The
the music is a bit different and it's a more modern stage show adaptation.
Lynn's music is so interesting because I actually quite like, we talked about it where I liked in Chicago, the jazz influence. It's a different style. It's not the typical style. I think that his style works better in this one than in Hamilton, which is obviously his bigger musical at this point. I mean, I like it in both. I do like the music in Hamilton, but I think that something about it feeling more small scale, like more like this is like how regular people would like maybe talk or sing or rap with your friends or whatever for certain moments. I kind of think that it adds something to the style of singing that they're doing.
I think it also has like more like Latin influence. So it's like, it feels more like music as opposed to like Hamilton, which feels like spoken word poetry to me, which isn't a bad thing, I guess, for some people. But it's just like, I like when it's like it feels like a song. Like it feels like I can buy the CD and it's like, I'm going to listen to some music.
I do think the style of it though, sometimes is hurt by the fact that he wants to interject like a more traditional Broadway song into the middle of one of the more Lynn style songs. And I don't quite think they blend together well. Like one of the examples when we watched it was Vanessa's bit of the 96,000, where you're just like, where did this come from?
I had a similar thought. I was like, during 96,000, I was like, on rewatching it, I'm like, Lynn loves to do like medleys basically, or like multiple different movements within a single song where, you know, he goes from one character to the other and they're singing like a completely different song. And often it works really well. 96,000 in particular, there were a couple where I was like, ooh, huge 180. But he does the thing where at the end of the song, they all come together. And that really satisfying.
That sounds good. And honestly, a lot of the medleys in that song particularly, and in other ones as well, I do like the shifts. But there's a couple of moments in this one specifically where I'm like, it's a little bit too far off and it's a little too jarring for me.
And I agree, but also I do love that he's doing that because, you know, it fits the story so well where you're jumping back and forth between these different characters who are living out, you know, very different lives that sometimes intertwine, but sometimes don't. There's just this celebratory feeling about the whole thing. Obviously the characters have these conflicts, but the movie as a whole feels very light. It feels very much like we're here to have a good time. And it's hard not to have a good time when you're watching the movie.
Yeah, I think that's something that's really important for musicals in general. I feel like a lot of musicals tend to have either political or social statements, you know, woven through them. And I think it's an important, you know, medium of storytelling. But I think specifically for this one to be about joy and about hope and about like looking forward positively, because a lot of these musicals are more about like expressing the hardships of the time and glorifying violence in a way just because of the spectacle of it, where this one feels more intentional to be taking a different perspective and highlighting these, you know, social and socioeconomic struggles that people really are living through in like our times. Like, it's not even a reflection of the past to, you know, satirize the present, but it's still focused on like the positives and then like the joy and the culture and community and the good things that come out of those things. I think it's a good one. I think it's a really, really fun new musical.
Also, everyone is so hot in it. I was looking.
So where do you want to put it?
It's near the top for me, I would say, probably.
Oh.
See, you know, Les Mis is kind of beefing with this one, but I feel like I'm going to put it above Wicked, below West Side Story.
Okay.
I would put it below Les Mis.
Below Les Mis. Tim?
I'm going to put it below Chicago.
Below Chicago. Wow, number 2.
Yeah.
Dang.
I'm going to put this last. Not an indictment on this musical. This is a crazy list, but I think I'm getting
crazy list, getting crazier.
Getting crazier.
Wow.
I'm keeping it below Les Mis, and I think then if I'm keeping it below Les Mis, I think I like Cabaret more than this one, even though I think this one is great.
Wow. Okay, so where does that put it?
Above Wicked, below West Side.
Sure.
Meet where Jordan put it. All right, last up on the list for today, and for the musical adaptations list for now, Wicked for Good 2025. The second act of Wicked. If you've seen the first one, follows Elphaba and her journey to Wiz that leads her to the wizard, who is not who she thought he was. She becomes exiled, the enemy of all, and it's her journey to try and save the animals of Oz and expose the wizard for the fraud that he is.
I don't know. I cannot speak ill of either Wicked or Wicked for Good.
Why not?
I only have positive things to say because I love both the leads so much.
This is my thought. Obviously, the big thing about these movies is that it was a single Broadway show and they split into 2 movies. So the question of whether that was the right decision, I think the first movie is really strong. With the second movie, I think it does feel like half a movie. But to me, it's not that it's missing the first half. It's that there's another movie happening at the same time that we don't see. Sure. Wizard of Oz, basically.
Yep.
And I think pretty much all the big stuff in the movie revolves around that. And it really struggles because you're constantly being taken out. You really lose the through line on Elphaba's story, which to me was the strongest part of the first movie.
I think it's pretty generous to call this half a movie. I feel like this is like a quarter of a movie. I think there's very little actually going on that gets kind of dragged out over 2 hours. And I'm with you that the first part, I think, does stand on its own. And going into it, I was like, I can't believe they split this into 2 parts. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. And walking out of the first one, I was kind of like, oh, maybe it was the right call, because I thought that one didn't feel like it didn't deserve to be its own movie. But upon watching this one, I don't think that this one deserved to be its own movie. And I don't know how to reconcile that.
But this is the question. Would making it all one movie be better? Because in my mind,
maybe not.
The best way to do it as one movie is maybe just do the first movie.
I think if you remove the Wizard of Oz, which I agree, like, you can't, because that is what's going on in the background. But if you remove that element, the entire plot of Wicked is really just about these 2 people and how they became the people that they are.
Yeah.
But if you remove the plot points of the Wizard of Oz, what is actually happening in this movie is that Elphaba hits her breaking point and Galinda has to take up the thrones. That's basically it.
Yes.
And then they obviously destroy the wizard from his reign of power. But basically that's it. Like, you don't really need Dorothy. You do for plot, and you do to make the Tin Man and the Scarecrow for the Wizard of Oz. But if it wasn't the Wizard of Oz, which I understand you cannot disconnect it from, because that's why this even exists, is it's fan fiction. If you remove that, that's really the only plot of this movie.
Fully agree with you. And that's what I mean, where I'm like, it's only like a quarter of a movie. The scenes that matter to me in this movie are really basically no good deed and for good. Everything else is basically irrelevant to what the first movie sets up and what the payoffs that you're expecting from that movie are.
But to Tim's point, you can't take away the fact that this is the Wizard of Oz. And
I get that.
Maybe if you showed more of that, maybe that would have been a way to reconcile it. But I don't even know if that would have been worth it, honestly. It's almost like maybe this just works better as a stage show or as a book.
I think you can get away with things in a stage show that you can't get away with in a movie. It's crazy to me that basically the biggest driver of the plot is Dorothy, and you only ever see the back of her head, like a couple
her
times.
shoes. Yeah.
Well, and I think it also kind of takes you out of it because obviously it's based on the book and not the Judy Garland movie, but that is the point of reference that most people watching this movie will have for the story of The Wizard of Oz. And then your plot, the Wicked for Good plot, is contingent upon people knowing like what the Scarecrow and the Tin Man do. But in what world would Figaro help Dorothy the way that the Scarecrow does in The Wizard of Oz? And same with Bach. Why would he do that? Like, and then maybe we needed to see those character moments of like that. It's not the way that it was presented to us, but this is what Bach did. And this is what Figaro did. Like, there's not enough time spent with those side characters who are important to the plot of The Wizard of Oz. So I don't know. It's just not satisfying for that reason, I think.
It's definitely a tough thing to make a piece of fan fiction, essentially, right? And to have it seamlessly connect with the existing source material. It's The Wizard of Oz, but you just took everyone's word for it that the Wicked Witch was bad. You don't know her side of the story. I think that's a really cool jumping off point. But then you're either A, really limited in what you can do if you want to stay perfectly true to the source material, or B, you don't do that and you go, well, I'm going to do what I want to do and tell the story I want to tell. And then it's not going to fully line up. And they do that route in this, but then they don't adjust the source material and give it like, this is like actually an alternate version. They kind of treat it as if it's the same version because of the fact in my mind that they don't show you any of that stuff. You're supposed to fill in the gaps with what you know the story to be. And I think, yeah, that does make you go, wait, what? How does this work?
I mean, part of me just like wishes like after watching it, there just was no intertwinement with the Wizard of Oz. Nessa could just be evil. You can get to for good without all of the Wizard of Oz stuff. You had like a strong like character driven thing, and then you just like felt the need to like, but this is not like the people who made this movie's fault. It's like the book fault.
Yeah.
So it's like one of those things where it's like, oh, like what could you just like take the second act of a musical, and if it's not strong, could you just like do whatever you want with it? Like, who cares?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. The characters are the strongest part about it. And those scenes in this movie, I think Cynthia and Ariana do still really shine bright. I think they're still delivering a lot. And they're fully carrying this movie on so many levels. And it's really a testament how great they are in the movie, because the movie's kind of boring. Like, it's a little bit like drawn out and slow. And then you get to these big moments that they have and you're like, oh my God, I'm sucked right back in immediately.
Yeah, I just feel like with something like this where you're hyper focused on these two main characters, which you were in the first one, but there's so much going on in the first one and there's so much like fun and games where that's
a lot of world building.
Yeah, this one is very much focused on wrapping up the plot to make it make sense for the Wizard of Oz. Like, that's literally all that's happening basically. And I think they add stuff, but in my mind, they don't add the right stuff, and they don't linger on the relationships and the moments that I would want more time on. Like, I would rather have had an extra scene with Elphaba and Figaro rather than have her with the animals. And I would rather have an extra scene with Galinda and Figaro, or Galinda and Bach reconciling. Like, some character moments that bring you back to the character interactions from the first movie that aren't just Elphaba and Glinda. Because I fully agree that that's where this movie is strong, but I think it would have been stronger had you had more moments like interconnected between the characters, and that your main two characters weren't just almost always isolated.
Right. And they don't really share a lot of scenes together, which is a strength of the first one that is lost on this one. I get it from a plot perspective, but when they do come together, it's like, oh man, this is what we love so much about the first. This is what we love so much about the first one. We had so little of it in this one.
Like, I personally did not need an introspective Glinda song, and I didn't need a flashback to Glinda's 8th birthday party. Like, personally, I didn't need that. I think you get enough of that character from the first movie and from this movie.
Or No Place Like Home.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think sometimes we were talking about earlier, like with stage shows, less is more because your imagination fills in the gaps. And I think specifically for Elphaba, I know people complain about the stage show also, but I think for her, like the breaking point when you see less, you can just infer that worse things happened. And then like her not being able to save Figaro in the way that she wants to is really like the final breaking point where she's just like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not doing anything good because they're just going to tell me I'm bad anyway. But I think when you see those moments of like the animals and it's just not a strong enough plot moment for me to be like, oh, that makes sense why she's like breaking.
Part of the big problem with this is the Nessa storyline.
Yeah.
Which, there's a lot of issues with that. I think they did add a little scene with her at the beginning, which I didn't think was very good. And then she has her whole turn to the Wicked Witch, and there's all the stuff with the shoes and the Tin Man, and that all happens so quickly. And then it's really so important to the rest of the story. But the way they portray it, it's almost like Elphaba forgets about her.
She just leaves afterwards.
Yeah, well, it's like, because Nessa dies, and then obviously we know the scene in Wizard of Oz where the Wicked Witch comes in and she's all mad and everything. But instead she shows up after Dorothy's left, and she kind of just
little sword fight
has it. Yeah, but it's kind of like they're just kind of having fun, really. Like she's
kind of like
even,
that scene. I'm kind of on board with that scene.
I don't mind the scene, but it's just like you needed to start doing something,
sure,
in this moment, and to waste the scene on just having some fun, which it is fun. It's fun to see them interact and be kind of bickering and stuff, but it needed to be a much more serious moment for her character journey.
I just don't think that's the place for it. I like the scene.
That's very true. Maybe
I like the scene, but it takes away from like all of the momentum of Elphaba's character.
Sure.
And like the way that they handle it in this adaptation is almost like when Elphaba saves Bach's life, basically by making him the Tin Man, she kind of already views Nessa as dead to her.
Right.
And it's like, that's not the satisfying arc to like, your best friend is the reason your sister is dead. Like, and that's why, like in the stage show, right? Like she thinks it is Glinda. That's a huge betrayal.
Sure.
That is completely different than like, I'm already mad at my sister. Like my sister's so far gone. She's greedy. And like, that's in the show. But like, I just feel like the causation here is just like not the same level of betrayal. Like, it's just kind of like, what are they even fighting about anyway? Where like I feel like when there's more serious weight to it, when they make up, it's more satisfying.
I think it's fair that what I like about the scene is maybe it's not time or place for it.
Yeah, I agree with Jordan. I mean, because they come back together and for good,
right? Which
is great. But yeah, I think it would have hit harder if it felt like their breakup was a bit more serious.
I like, to me, when I watched the movie, I think like the whole emotional core of the movie was like the animals are like getting like forced on, like choosing not to speak, but then they just like abandon that. And then it's like nothing. And then they're like, okay, they're welcome back. And I was like, I feel like if we're going with that storyline, that's not how things work in the real world. So it's like,
I think that's one of the weaker points about the musical as well. I think that the plot is that Elphaba wants to help animals because of Dr. Dillman.
Yeah, and then it drops it.
The injustices in the world, and that's the problem. And then she realizes that the wizard is doing it and she's trying to solve it. But I think something about the way that the movies handle it, and honestly, sometimes the stage show too, where like it's more focused on the female friendship and then also her taking down the wizard, who is the root problem, but they just kind of forget about the problem.
And I get it. It's a movie, things are convenient, but it is a little bit like, oh, if the wizard leaves, then all of a sudden all the prejudice and all the racism and all the whatever just goes away.
And why did he leave?
Right.
Because Glinda said so.
Yeah, I think the strengths of the story of Wicked are almost like we were talking about earlier, like that Shakespearean tragedy of it all. But I think the choices that were made in this one to add certain things and focus on certain things, I think it just detracts from the overall tragedy. And then it just makes it a bit more boring and less satisfying. Like you're just kind of like, okay. Like at a certain point, your investment in even the main two characters lessens because you're just like, okay.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. And, it goes back to, For Good is great. It's a great song. It's performed beautifully by both of them.
Very emotional. Very
emotional. Obviously, they have great chemistry together on screen. Their voices sound amazing together. And, I appreciate that this is kind of like a big blockbuster special effects action movie, basically. But the climax of the movie is just two people holding hands, singing to each other. Like that's great. I appreciate that. But yeah, I think the issue is the movie kind of reminds me of Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, which is another movie this year that's the second half of a two-parter and is maybe a little disappointing in some ways. And I feel like musicals secretly are the same genre as action movies. It's a story, and every few minutes, everything stops for an action scene.
Sure, I can see that.
A musical sequence.
Yep.
And sometimes they further the plot, but sometimes they're just there for the spectacle.
Yep.
What helps Mission Impossible is that an action sequence like the one at the end of that movie, doesn't matter what the fuck came before it. That sequence is amazing. But with Wicked, because the climax is so based on emotion, and there's not really a spectacle beyond the emotion.
It does matter what
came before it. And I had that connection to those characters in the relationship at the end of the first half. But I have, like Jordan said, I have lost it. By the time it comes around in this movie, it's not hitting the way that it should be hitting.
I think that's really fair from both of you. I think that's a good shout.
Yeah, it's just frustrating because I feel like the characters are mad at each other for the wrong reasons. And there are valid reasons that both of them should be mad or frustrated with each other. But I feel like the film doesn't focus on those things. And it boils it down to like petty things that I think just wouldn't be, they're not the things that are like emotionally impactful.
To change gear from plot too, everyone has talked about how bad the visuals in Wicked are. So I'm not going to fully speak about that. But what I do want to speak about is the production design, I think also suffered in this one. And that was, I think, a big strength in the first one. The stuff at Shiz, those sets, their bedroom, the classrooms, looks Oz, the
Emerald City,
the Dancing Through Life library, they look amazing. They really add life to these scenes and these dance numbers and giving you something to look at more than just the characters. There's a depth to the frame that I think is really lost in this one. You're talking about For Good, it being the climax of this movie and it being this big moment and what everything has built to. And it's just two people holding hands with a stupid blue screen background. The visual of that sequence really detracts from how much I can connect to it because I'm just like, it looks yucky. It doesn't feel grounded. It doesn't feel like the beautiful Oz and the world of Wicked that I was excited about.
The CGI, was something that has been brought up on some of these movies, but the CGI is kind of bringing things down. But on the whole, I do think it's one of the stronger sequences in the movie.
Totally agree.
The song is great. It was great on the stage show and Cynthia kills it.
I don't think the visuals are as bad in Wicked, either Wicked, as people say they are. They don't really take me out the same way that I feel like it takes people out of the movie when they talk about it. I'm not a huge fan of CGI in general, so like I always prefer the practical, and I think again this movie is strong when there are practical, sets and costumes that enhance the viewing experience. Cynthia's costumes specifically in this one and her hair and makeup look amazing. Look
really good. I like that too. Good shout. Good
shout. Definitely.
I think she is one of the best performers of our generation. I really love watching her, but I do think that No Good Deed and As Long As You're Mine are slowed down a little bit from the stage songs, and I prefer the faster versions. But it has nothing to do with her. It's just like
they were panning for time.
I don't know what it is. I just feel like they're when there's a sense of urgency in the music, I feel like that adds to the fury and the feeling and the heightened emotion.
I liked her treehouse. That was a new setting that we didn't have in the first one. I liked that, the visuals of that.
The cardigan, the sex cardigan.
We've really gone to town on this. Dylan, you said you don't want to say a bad word about it. Do you want to blow some smoke?
Parts?
Yeah.
One of my favorite parts. I love the costuming for everybody.
Definitely.
I think the music is really good, obviously. The covers that I wanted them to hit and they did hit.
Pretty strong overall.
Yeah, good performances, good songs. What do you guys want to rank Wicked for good?
It's last for me. Sorry. So sorry.
For me.
I would put it, to me, Wicked is number one and it would be below Wicked. So I guess below Wicked, but it's not in the bottom in my mind.
So I would also put it on the bottom. So what do we think? Dylan putting it below Wicked. So above Les Mis.
Wicked is.
So we have to decide, are we going to just weight it down to the bottom or are we going to put it above Cabaret?
I think we got to put it below Cabaret.
Okay.
I think the simple sequel outvoted.
Yeah, right. 3 of us put it down.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's okay.
But Dylan's on the record. He's on the record.
I'm on the record saying I love it.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of beautiful work in this movie. It just is disappointing. I think that it just comes down to
it's almost like we're harder on it because we like the first one so much in a way.
All right. The Rats on Film. Updated list for musical adaptations, objectively in our opinion. Starting from the bottom. Wicked for Good, Cabaret, Les Miserables, Wicked, In the Heights, West Side Story, Sweeney Todd, Tick Tick Boom, Little Shop of Horrors, Hairspray, and A New Big Cheese, Chicago.
Yeah, that's pretty much nonsense.
That's crazy.
I feel like it's like a U to me. The worst ones are in the middle, and then the either end is going up for me.
Hey, let us know what you think of the list. Do you think this is crazy, or are you that's spot on? Probably not.
And let us know what musicals you'd want us to do on our next episode.
And most importantly, let us know if you've been changed for good or for bad.
Probably for bad after listening to this ranking. Thanks for listening to Rats on Film, everybody. Tell a friend about the show. We're a bunch of little rats, talk about and rank movies. You can follow us, Rats on Film Pod, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Letterboxd. We'll post this list and all the future lists we make on there. And we'll be back in a couple weeks to talk about and rank some more movies.
Bye.
Bye.